Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Insights from the Couch with Yellow Lee Smith, licensed clinical social worker and owner of The Traveling Therapist. I have a really special guest today. Her name is Nicolle, and she's actually here to talk about what it's like to date in 2024 after a separation. She has been separated from her husband for 10 months. And she's been going to therapy during that time. And so we're going to talk about what she has learned in this process, what were her expectations before she started, and what has therapy taught her, and what myths she had that therapy has dispelled. So tune in and let's get started. Okay, so Nicolle, I think you started therapy like right around the time that you started getting separated, like literally the day of. So tell me how it's been the last 10 months.
Okay, so for the last 10 months, it's been a wild ride for sure. From therapy, I have learned that everything comes with time, and definitely learning your boundaries is super important. Having a set of standards in place of what your ideal partner is very important, because it really allows you to pick out all the red flags that are not good for you versus staying in them and just wasting your time. That's helped me a lot lately. And just when I got out of my separation, I thought that the dating pool would be fun. But it's not. It's not at all. It's not, as I guess how they make it seem in the movies. It's hard because, I also have a child of mine who I have to take into consideration, who am I going to consider making my partner? And a lot of these people out in the dating pool, they don't take into consideration, how your life is your time, your work, all of this. A lot of times I've noticed it's just about me, and it's just all the nice stuff, all the love bombing just to get you to sleep with them. Mm-hmm. So whatever it is that you want to hear. And I was not expecting that to be that way. I think because the last time I dated was probably 5.5, 6 years ago. And that was not how things were before. I was very used to men being upfront and very direct about what they wanted, and now they are willing to go really far as length to basically make it seem like they want to date you, and then comes around and all they want is just, bang and go. So I've learned that along the way that it's not about what they say, it's believe them when they show you who they are. So if they show you that they're genuinely not interested and they're hot and cold, believe it. Don't second guess it. But the next day they showed me their interest or they sent me no. Just believe it as it is, because how it is in that moment, that's the base foundation of how it will be the longer you stay in that situation, that relationship, whatever it is that you want to call it.
What did you think that was going to be your top priority when you started dating? What did you think you were going to be facing?
I think my top priority when I started first dating, for me it was, I have to find the right partner. They're just gonna show up. My Prince Charming is just gonna show up and they're gonna sweep me on my feet, and I just won't have to feel this void of sadness, and everything's just going to be picture perfect. But that is not the case. And that's what a lot of people experience, is the jumping from relationship to relationship. Mm-hmm. And I identify with having done that in the past. And that is not healthy. Everyone needs their moment to, heal, acknowledge all their different wounds, their love languages, their love styles. And for me, that's helped me a lot, not jumping into the next thing, so that I can actually heal and recognize when love is actually being shown and when I'm not being shown love.
One of the things that I found really interesting was one time you were talking about a guy that you met that he was like, well, I'm different. Like, oh, the first thing that he did was he actually was rude to you. And he said, oh, you just think because you're pretty that you can get away with it. You remember that story?
Yes.
I thought, oh my goodness.
So this person in particular, we got to talking, and he was different to me. He stood out because he was siding with me, actually, like telling me, oh, that's just how men are, making me believe that, he actually understood what it was that, how men were behaving and all this stuff. But he actually ended up giving me like a backhanded compliment. I think it was, oh, like, you're so pretty, so you think you can, like, do whatever it is that you want, or something like that. And at first I was like, oh, like, you think it's like a compliment, like it's cute, because I don't know, there's like this stigma that, oh, if they bully you, they like you, but that is not the case. So that is what he did. And then the more I listened, and then Lily and I spoke, and I was like, oh, this guy is like offending me. Like, you can compliment me without having to offend me.
Yeah. And then I had to kind of show you how that's an old school technique of, oh, first I'm going to give you that backhanded compliment because it's going to get your attention. And then I'm going to smooth it over with a very nice compliment instead. Oh, what do you mean you're not like that? Well, I don't really know you. So if we got to know each other, then maybe I would think different. And that's such a classic. And one of the things that I remember was like, oh my gosh, this guy read the whole player book, the whole book. Like, he knows exactly the things to say, how to manipulate, everything. But what I notice is, like, when you have been without dating for several years, things change, people change. And it's like, well, you come out here and you're kind of rusty. So you get confronted with, because you've had like multiple different types of men that you've talked to, and not that you've necessarily dated all of them, but you have at least talked to them, engaged in conversation, and there's been interests, and all of them have had wildly different personalities. And it's like, okay, so you're not necessarily like one size fits all. Like, they're coming from all kinds of different directions, and you have to be really smart about, is this person genuine? Is this real? Is this not real? Is this a game? Is this,
Asking all the right questions is super important, and, like what their end goal is. And by end goal, I don't mean like what their intentions are with you, because no one's going to be upfront about that, which I've slowly figured that out. I guess over time, things have changed, that they're gonna be discreet about what their intentions are. I came into the dating pool thinking like, oh, like everyone's really upfront, like real, genuine, authentic, and that is not the case. So yes, that's part of me being like rusty, but like the more that I am here, and for me, it's like Lily said, it's not one size fits all, but definitely having to adjust how, you deal with every situation. It's asking all the right questions from that moment that, like, you start talking to them, like what, that's very important. A lot of people don't ask those questions. They wait till later on when they're dating to ask them. And I think it's very important to ask them up front. And I've learned that now. And not just asking them, but then over time, just seeing how their actions match up to that is super important. If you don't ask the important questions up front, you're just bound to waste their time, and they're bound to waste your time. It's super important.
What happens when you're in a situation where maybe you feel shy about asking the questions? Because I think that at the beginning, you were kind of like that. You were like, oh, but what if I like offend the person? Because I remember we talked about we have to have the religion conversation. We have to have the politics conversation. We have to have the conversation about, hey, we are now at an age where you're in your late 20s, 30s, and over, and there's kids involved. And it's no longer about, oh, let's go dating. And no, it's commitment, it's relationship, it's where we go for the future. So you have to have the conversations of commitment, of stability, of work, of, what are your standards? All these different things. So
marriage, kids,
raising kids. Do you have a child? I have a child. All those different things. So how did you get over the jitters at the beginning of asking of having those kinds of conversations?
Definitely it really helped a lot wording it for sure, because for me it's always about how you word it. Tonality and the wording is super important. But for me, just to get over the jitters was just little by little practicing and doing it. In my case, it's been through messages, so it's a little bit easier than having to do it face to face. But the more I've done it, the more that I became comfortable with it. And just accepting the fact that, okay, the answer they may give you is not one that you may like, but that's going to help you in the end to pick out, the ones that aren't your ideal partner.
And that's a huge one because, you're a very attractive woman and you attract very attractive men. And it's really hard to say, I'm not going to be with this person, or this one's not a good fit, because there's the attraction, and that has nothing to do with religion or anything like that. Physical attraction is present, and you'd like to be able to give into it, and it's really hard to turn your back on a very attractive person just because they're not saying the right things for you for your future. So how do you come to terms with the fact that sometimes you have to tell someone that you really want to be with physically that this is not, you're not the person?
Definitely, I have a lot of, I call it like a self-reflection moment. I just go back to all the standards that I created based off the things that you and I talked about. And I just come to the realization that, lust is not the same thing as love. And yes, you're going to have that physical attraction, but what is that physical attraction going to contribute, for you in the future, not just you? Like if you have kids, what is that going to contribute for, all of you guys in the future? And, we're all going to age, we're all going to get wrinkles, so really it doesn't even matter. It's not like of value. What is of value is, like what they bring to the table. So that's part of my self-reflection that I've had, when looking at all of that.
And I think that's some way, somehow, when you give yourself enough time, and you don't jump right in to the relationship, it seems, and I've noticed because you've had an interest in certain guys where you've spent more time with them than others, and they haven't been a good fit. And it's like, no matter what, if you pace yourself and you don't just jump into the relationship with them or force their relationship, it seems like no matter what, they kind of take themselves out.
Time will tell.
Yes.
Definitely. And that's something we talked about. Because again, as I said at the beginning, I was wanting to jump into like something new. And let me tell you, that's not, like, I don't suggest that because in the end, you'll end up tolerating things that you're not supposed to. And you'll end up getting more hurt because, you already were hurt from that breakup, that separation, whatever the situation was. And you think, oh, this guy, this is the one, this is the next one, he's going to come save me. But you start to overlook a lot of things that, you should not be overlooking.
Yeah. And you bring a really good point there. Your threshold of tolerance is a lot lower when you're vulnerable, when you've just been out of a relationship.
Your ability to walk away.
Your ability to walk away is practically zero because you just don't want to make another mistake. You want the next one to be the right one. And every day that you spend with that person, it's harder to walk away because every day you spend with them, you want it to be the right person so bad. So it's easy to lower your standards. And one of the things that you made me realize as we were talking was the fact that we were talking about standards, and you were like, I have standards, I think. Sort of, kind of. What is it? Can I eat it with ketchup? I was like, hold up. We gotta go way back to the beginning. Like, what do you even know what your standards are? And like, have you actually considered putting them on a person?
So I actually had no standards. I came in through the door thinking I had standards, but I would actually just mend and adapt to whatever that person was because I wanted to make them fit, because I like them. And that is not the case. You should not make someone fit if they don't fit. And I have lately, so I took Lily's suggestion and I did get my own journal and I wrote down my list of standards. And they're not like out there and crazy, but someone that values me, someone that respects me. Hygiene, super important. That's something I've also noticed in the dating pool. Just things like that. Also somebody that, like prioritizes and also, is respectful towards my daughter. That's a super important one too. But I have been applying that to all the different, we'll call them the fish of the sea that show up. And over time, I have noticed, a lot of them don't fit it. Yes, there's that attraction. Yes, like they're super hot, they're whatever, but it's like, when you apply your standards and your list to it, you slowly start to notice their behaviors come out and the way that they treat you. And again, it just goes back to like the bullying where you think that because they bully you, like they're into you. No, that's not the case. And that's something that I have dealt with a lot. I don't know why, but a lot of the men that show up, that's what they do. They'll like casually like insult me or, they're like that indirect comment and then they'll try to like smooth it out with something else and then do it all over again. And slowly I've been just like shutting the doors to all these people because I'm like, okay, there's no point in having them around if,
Do you feel like it's gotten easier to be alone now than it was at the beginning?
Yes. So actually, previous to this, we were talking about a little bit our threshold. So I think part of wanting to jump into something is that we want attention. We want to feel loved. We don't want to be alone. Like a lot of us will say like, oh, I'm fine being alone. But sometimes there's that moment where you just want like a companion. And that's part of the reason why we also jump into into all the wrong things. And then just continue to be in them. Over time, there's moments where, like, I do think about, like, it would be nice to cuddle someone. But over time, honestly, just, self-reflecting, self-growth, keeping yourself busy, your job, focusing on you, if you have kids, focusing on your kids. There's so much for us to invest time into that. For me, it's become easier to be alone. And I think that time doesn't just tell, but time also heals a lot.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice a change in the way you parented when you had the unhealthy marriage and the unhealthy partner by your side versus now when it's just you and your daughter?
I did. That is definitely a big one. We don't realize it that as parents, the relationship that we have with our partner, especially if it's unhealthy, we take on it and then we also take it out on our children. And I noticed that I was, and I'm a very patient person, but being in that situation made me very not patient. It made me very irritable. There's moments where I solely focus just to please my daughter, just to give her happiness and just letting a lot of things that, that she did, like, not like slide, but, there's different ways to go about it to redirect it. And I notice now that my parenting is very different, more in tune with my emotions, more in tune with hers. Before, it was just, I just wanted her to, just to stop crying. Because a lot of, the fighting that partners have when they have an unhealthy relationship, also really affects the children, which you just think your child is just being irritable or, they're just being a child. But no, environment does a lot. It's like putting a flower in a good environment and in a bad environment. It's going to it's going to die in a bad one. The fighting, the arguing, the yelling, the screaming, the throwing of things, definitely plays a big role versus a peaceful home. There's no throwing, the words, the tonality plays such a big role. And for me, now that I'm not in that scenario, it's helped a lot. I've noticed a change in my daughter too. As parents, we also make mistakes. So sometimes, when I am a little irritable, I do say, hey, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak to you that way. Get down to their level and things like that.
Good. What is it that now with everything that you've learned so far, what is it that you're hoping to find in a partner now that you have your standards, now that you've been through a few dates and you have some idea of what the dating pool looks like? What does it look like for you now to find the right partner for you?
So we just also spoke about this, and it's looking for someone who is a good partner, like in all aspects. It's very important that, they value your feelings, they're considerate of your feelings, they're a provider, respectful, all of those aspects super important. That's what I'm looking for, and I notice that that's going to help a lot in the future because, as we spoke, that if they're a good partner, they're going to be like a good father. Mm-hmm. But not the other way around.
Yeah, so we just finished talking about a person can be a good parent, but not necessarily be a good partner. And there's actually a lot of couples who had really, really negative relationships as partners. They split up, and then they actually become better by just being co-parents. And they actually do better, and the child grows up in a healthier situation because the toxic environment of the couple is not affecting the child anymore. Or the parents, exactly. So that's one of the things. They're not interrelated, which is the word that we were looking for. Interrelated. It is, you will find that a good partner tends to be a good parent to your child because they care about the things that you care about. But it doesn't have to be the other way around. So
that was another one of my myths.
So another one of your lessons, I guess. Okay, so if you had to give a list of red flags that you... a list of red flags that you have found in the dating world as you've dated different types of men, what would you say are some of the red flags you've noticed?
Oh, definitely. When you ask them what are their intentions, which I did, and they're like, oh, I just like you, I'm just going with the flow. That's a red flag. Definitely a red flag. Because a real, person that's a green flag would tell you exactly what their intentions are, which I've had, which is, ask you out on a date, I'm interested in you, things like that. Not just, hey, I'm just going with the flow like it's water or the wind, things like that. That's for sure. And the backhanded compliments, that's another one. That's a red flag. Don't go for that. Let's see.
That's actually a very narcissistic trait. Usually narcissists tend to do that.
The love bombing.
That's a huge red flag. Love bombing. Yes. Oh, here's flowers and here's, I love you.
Or I want to marry you. I don't know, 2 weeks in. That's not realistic. Especially if you don't know how, who I am, how can you say, oh, I'm in love with you, I love you, that's another red flag that.
Yeah. I think you said, you mentioned that you had gone on a date with somebody and they had done that to you and you were like, what do you know about me?
Yes, I had somebody like that. And it was short, less than a week. And we were like, oh, I'm just super into you. You're the love of my life. You're just your aura. You're everything. I just see us being together. I'm and I'm asking all the questions to get to know this person because I was interested. But oddly enough, they're not asking anything about me. So I sit there and I'm wondering then, what is it that you're so in love about me? If I take the time and the interest to get to know you, but you don't do the same for me. You don't reciprocate it.
Exactly. That's so true. They're just sitting there. And I actually heard about this the other day. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is absolutely true. They are extracting information from you, and then they can get to use it at a later time, whether it's to convince you of things or to get you to lower your guard, but they're not actually giving you anything. So that then in the future, you can't use anything from them, but they can use whatever information. So you're showing your cards, which is fantastic for them because now they know how to manipulate you, how to talk to you the way you want to talk to, how to love bomb you, everything.
You're so right. Well, part of the dating pool is learning that it sucks, but it really is a game. That's what it is. You shouldn't show all your cards. And I also had to learn that the hard way. Because that's exactly that situation that I've had in the past, was that it's me asking all the questions, me not learning anything about them, but then later on revealing everything that you are, then they take that and they turn it back around and they use it on you.
Yeah. And it's not that you can't share, because you're asking them, if they're asking you, and if you are seeing, I think it's about sharing in measures.
Giving and taking.
Yes. The give and take.
Balance.
And there has to be a balance. And if you're seeing a reciprocal interest coming from them, and just if they're genuinely curious about you, they are asking genuine questions. Because that's another thing, is a lot of times they'll just ask fluff.
Yeah.
The typical, you work out, or, which is okay, but let's move past this. What's your body count?
Oh, that's a really common one. I was not expecting that coming to the dating pool. Just casually bringing up, I've been with 50 people. I'm like, what about you? And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What about me? I did not experience that in the past. So having that now, it's a very common trend per se. And I've noticed the men are not, afraid to vocalize how many people they've been with versus where women are. And that's something we talked about, because I just found it so odd.
It's like a badge of honor for them. Look at how many notches I have on my belt. But, okay, any other red flags? If, I'm going to throw one out there from your own experience. If he takes a really long time to message you back. If they are, if this person, you literally message them and they don't message you back for a day or several hours, and they just casually ghost you. I'm sorry, but it's 2024. We literally live with our phones stuck to us. It could be surgically inserted into our brains, and soon it will be. There's really no reason. You have time to check your TikTok, your Instagram, your Snapchat, your Facebook. You don't have time to respond. 2 seconds, you can't respond to text message. That's very suspicious. And I mean, there's thresholds, again. An hour, 2 hours, okay, that's fine. But a whole day?
I think that's where it comes. Well, I think a whole day is a lot. But I think that's where it comes to play. This is actually something that I watched on TikTok that got brought up. I feel all about how they respond. If they just casually show up after a day and a half, it's nothing, then all right, yeah, that's a little bit suspicious. But if they show up and they said, hey, sorry, I've been busy, and there's a genuine explanation, then I think that's kind of a little bit.
But then if it repeats,
then that's something you should look out for.
Right. If this is a classic red flag, I don't know if you've experienced this, but if they won't go on a date with you in the daytime, a weekend, a weekend date or a daytime date, it's only at night, only
that's the same thing, as the booty call. They won't go on a date with you, or they won't text you anything before like 9 at night.
Exactly.
But then suddenly 3 a.m. hits. Where you at? What you do? It's never like let's go out on a date. It's just, what are you doing? Not even a hi, good night, or, hello. It's definitely a red flag. Just don't even reply.
Okay, so any last things that you'd like to tell those who are listening, who are probably currently separated or maybe in the dating pool themselves, that you have learned in your time in therapy? Any final words of wisdom?
Definitely just take your time. Take your time. Definitely, reflect on your self-growth. Don't rush anything. Everything will come into play. I was ready to speak in Spanish. Everything will come into place when it's meant to be. And if it's for you, it will show up for you. Don't force it. Don't make it fit. Don't change your standards. Don't change your ways. Exactly what is for you will come for you when it has to.
Yeah. And one of the things, as a final thought to that, one of the things that we discussed is that in every relationship, there is going to be some give and take, but it should never be so much giving that you bend your standards. And standards should be the difference between expectations and standards, which is one of the very first things we talked about. The difference between expectations and standards, just to be clear, because we've brought this up a number of times. Expectations is what you want and what you would like. A standard is your bottom line. A standard is what you prioritize, what would affect you directly, what would mean something to your life. A standard is the non-negotiable. And so even though there should be some give and take in your expectations of your partner because you've just met that person, and so you might expect them to be a certain way, but as you get to know them, your expectations should be moderated to the person they actually are and not just who you wish they were.
Oh, that's another one.
Right? So even though we should be aware of the fact that we go into a relationship with certain expectations, which is what we want from them, and those expectations are not always going to match the person. So there has to be some give and take there as you get to know the person. The bottom line, the standards should not change. And that's the difference between the two, And
we talked about that because I had them inversed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need a man that's 6 foot, attractive, all like that. No,
blue eyes, works in finance.
But it's the other way around. He has to be respectful. So yes, definitely. Yeah. Super important point that you made.
Okay, so I hope this quick informational podcast episode has helped some of you or all of you and that you've enjoyed it.
Oh, and don't think you can fix him or heal him. We are not Bob the Builder, okay? If he shows you who he is, but I think he could change if I just... No, just leave the man alone. Leave the person alone.
Exactly. Go find yourself a maintenance job. Leave the guy alone. Exactly. He's not a fixer-upper. So...
Thank you for joining us
at Insights from the Couch. You can always check us out on our Spotify podcast. And if you'd like to visit our website, thetravelingtherapist.net, that's where we have our services. We provide mental health, psychiatry, ketamine therapy, children's therapy, couples counseling, family counseling, and a number of things. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.